Alright, we are recording, and things might be a little weird. Like, you can see the FPS counter up there in the corner because, for whatever reason, OBS just wouldn't hook into the game using the game hooks. Sometimes that happens with Going Medieval. I don't know why, so I'm just using a window capture mode. Alright, so yes, this is Going Medieval, as I just said. Key was originally provided by Tinsley PR for the Irregular Corporation. They are the publisher, and Foxy Voxel is the developer. Let's get to this. I don't have too much news to talk about. We do have the Steam Next Fest going on, but I'll be honest, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to those. Maybe I should. I don't know. It's just okay. It's demos, but I've got other things in my life I work on. So, I mean, it's great that that stuff gets attention, but that stuff is happening. It's still just I do my own stuff. I do other things with my time. And one of those things is actually something I could have talked about last week, forgot to. I'll see about talking about it this week. The heck would this achieve? Oh, that. Yeah, I definitely don't care. Yeah, so the two things that I have that are actually like news are AMD is acquiring Node.ai, which apparently they specialize in open source methods for AI, and have been working with various companies and such for however long. So with AMD's acquisition, that brings in an experienced team that builds this stuff, and they've also apparently Node.ai has already worked with various AMD architectures, so it's hopefully going to be no, screw this. Yeah, I mean, it's like, this is obviously and painfully false. I just realized I can actually get rid of that now. No, it's this. I've got two people at one on that. But it's still, just, look, this is so insulting. How do they have it this bad? Anyway. Yeah, so they have worked with Zen, RDNA, CDNA, and XDNA architectures already. So this is, kind of significant. And hopefully will, actually, produce some good stuff. That'll be kind of a time will tell, but it was a definitive agreement, is how it was described in the press release I saw. Well, then eat. There is food. There's a lot of food. Holy crap. Yeah, it's stuff like this that's really why they should have some means to, like, save or at least temporarily go, give a half point to something, because, I mean, that's absurd. You have no idea how much that is annoying me. I mean, it's just, this and that cannot be in agreement, right? That cannot work. I think that's what I'm aiming for. This could also be nice, because then I can do this. Wait a minute. Hang on. This is what's decomposing. Son of a bitch. It's because they're not hauling everything. And there's space. I mean, I can still work on this. I can build this out further. I can't build this out too much further. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There. But yeah, I mean, this is... Hauling is at 1, but of course it's the last thing, so everything else gets done first, and I am honestly unconvinced that it's just not making some stuff up as it goes, anyhow. Because, I mean, it's also, look, so many of the animals are set to do hauling, and they just don't. So what are these guys doing? Look at this. Look at how much is just in here. They should be hauling, and they're not. Anyway. Hey, maybe Foxy Voxel can try to work with Node.ai. Oh, man. To be fair, though, I do think that video games could be a place that you could train a lot of models on. Because it's a completely controlled environment. So I do think that would be absolutely reasonable to attempt. I guess, let me just do that for now. Because the fact that I'm just going by the coloring, that may help. Like, I can get it back to what I want it to be. Alright, the other thing that I have in here, it is also acquisition-related news, because the UK CMA... Nope. Like Consumer and Marketing Administration? Something like that. I don't quite remember, so I might have that wrong. But the UK CMA has actually approved the thing. The Microsoft acquisition of Activision. They've approved it. So, wait. I told them to cook. And their response is to do more hauling. When there's food to cook, and there's items here that can be used and are just not being used. Yeah, I'm... We don't need... Hang on, let me actually see. Can I pull it up? No, I can't. It's only from the main menu you can pull up the roadmap. But it's like... There is so much here that... You know, there's still so much content they want to add, but the fundamental stuff like this doesn't work. And red currant pie. So this is actually something that was made, but it's like, no, don't have enough food, and we're not eating it. And we got wolves now going at this stuff. Alright. Now it would be here. I don't know how many mechanical components I have. I have 1. I could just put up a wall. Yeah, I know, but it's... Oh, wait, actually, wait, hang on. That's what I wanted to do here. I just hadn't done it yet. No, not that. Here. get rid of that. But yeah, so Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard has been approved by the UK officials. Let me just... So that is all dirt there, so it's just that... Oh. Okay, that too. That can be gotten rid of without issue. Let me do that. Get some of the stuff filled in. Of course, they're not going to be doing it right away, but still. Yeah, apparently they just needed... Well, Microsoft gave the concession that the game streaming... No, cloud gaming. Well, yeah, that is game streaming. Services of Activision could be sold to Ubisoft instead, and obviously get Ubisoft to approve of that. And it's like by doing that, they what are you talking about? I have a mechanical component. I see it on the list. Was it doing something? I want to say I've actually known that this happens. That when something, yeah, when something is picked up, it removes it from the inventory. So the fact that it was in transit meant I didn't have it. Even though it was to build the thing, it was saying I don't have the supplies to build. Anyway, yeah, by doing that, that addressed the final concern that the UK regulators had. So now they are going to be allowed to purchase Activision. Not sure when exactly that may come into effect. 'Cause that kind of stuff doesn't happen immediately. I mean, I don't think that just because of this news, it's like, well, acquisition is now acquired. No, I'm pretty sure that will take a little bit to get worked out. But it's on the way to that. Yeah. So hang on. Let me just. Okay, so that's one of the Kalinas. Which one? That one. Okay, construct, grow, and harvest up above. Well, yeah, because apparently this Kalina is just awesome. How about the other ones? Say, yeah. Here. So it's doing the construction and the mining. All right. It's a cow. I'll take a cow. I just realized I don't actually remember. What is the distance? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I wanted to put up a wall here. So that's actually one I don't need. I do need this, though, and those. Okay. Good. What? She literally built the second floor before the first. Ha. Yeah, the scheduling in this game makes very little sense. Fine, be exhausted. Be hungry. There is so much food. There is so much food. Alright. I mean, it's like, clearly I needed to do this. And it's like, that is so stupid. I should be able to say, hey, clean all this shit up. That should just be a, no, do this. Don't change the job schedules. Don't change those at all. Just do this, okay? When that's done, then get back to your job. That should be a thing, okay? It's like, that's part of the issue that I really have with this. This is like a permanent thing, where it's like you set this based on their skills, and then that should be it. You basically don't adjust it after that, unless you want to force somebody to do one specific thing so they get better at it. So like this, actually, it should be a 2 now. That should be a 2 as well. Oh, wait. It is a 2. I forgot. I pulled them down. Oh, I pulled down everything by 1. But it's like, that's how that should work. Where that's permanent, and then you should be able to interrupt that and say, hey, this shit needs to be cleaned up. Clean it up. But that's not what happens, and I don't know why. Why is there a cow just... Oh, okay. It's a pet. I was very confused. I wasn't sure it was a pet. Because, like, yes, more food can degrade at this point, because I have plenty of it. I'm lousy with it. But get it in the places where it'll last longer. Actually, now I'm a little curious. Why are they taking this stuff there? What is he actually... Oh, no, he's carrying hay. Okay. That's fine. Hay going there makes sense, but the barley should be going down here. And there is so much space for it. Look at all this. There's the ground for it. I don't know why there's dirt piles here. Like, legitimately, there shouldn't be dirt here. It's not food, it's not carcass. Why is there dirt here? Like, that really annoys me. That should not be there. Okay. So they're starting to get things cleaned up. You know, now I am kind of wondering, how much have I overbuilt just because they're refusing to haul things? I was like, you've seen that I've had at 1 the entire time, because I understand how important hauling is, but because it's the last thing, they just never get around to it. It's like, you should, even that, you know, that's what it should be, is that it's for a temporary thing, be able to drag this over, put it up front. It was like, no, this is the highest priority now, do that. Being able to change it. There are so many ways that this could be done better. And it's like, no, we're just not doing that. Here, let's add new content. It's like, no, make the game better. I don't really have anything more to say, by the way, concerning Microsoft Activision. I don't know how much I specifically care one way or the other. I mean, it's like, good games are good games, no matter where they come from, is kind of how I feel about it. But I don't think I have many Activision games in my library, just as it's happened, that I don't have that many. I know I have some. I know I have some, but I don't think I have a whole lot. Alright, since it's here. Yeah, I mean, look at this. Even with that priority and being almost a full day, look at how much is still left. That's kind of absurd. You know what? I'm gonna build I think I should build a storehouse over here. I'll build it here. In fact, this'll work. I'll build it underground right in here. So that way, this stuff can be put there, and maybe I can have it. Well, no, that'd be awkward because it would have to go underneath this as well. But still, I could potentially have seeds and stuff stored there, so that might be faster. also reminds me, what the hell's up with the ice? Temperature, what does that even mean? What temperature do I need to get it at? You need to get a certain temperature. What's the temperature? I don't know. I mean, legitimately, look at this. It's not actually explained. It's not said. It's like it's inside. I mean, I'm sorry, but I was actually kind of expecting that this would just be it generates the stuff. Don't ask how or why, it just does. Oh my god, look at that. Now they're saying that's all good. I don't know if I care about that. But okay, so it looks like hauling might be good now. So I don't think I had anything at 0 normally, so that should actually just put everyone back to where I had them. Which is fine, because this can finally get finished off. And I'll build that storeroom down here. Which, let me look at something. I mean, look at how filled this is now. Okay, so these can take seeds. So what I will do then is I will just fill it up with these. With the shelves. And set all those up. For seeds. And then I'll, like, deprioritize it everywhere else. Okay. Alright, there. You're not hungry. There is so much food. You are not hungry. Okay, you just need to go and get the food. I should also try to get mechanical components being made. Where do I do that? I'm pretty sure I do have... Ah, here it is. Oh. Okay. Basically, make it destroyed, make it destroyed, make it destroyed. That should really just be a training thing. That shouldn't be something you have to do. I'm sorry, but that's a legitimate point. That should just be... If it is, no, you're just supposed to go back and forth with that. It's like, yeah, that should just be a training thing. So it's on a closed cycle. You don't need to worry about amassing stuff you don't want. Or accidentally destroying things you want to keep. And I feel like pointing out they're not doing this. They did this, but they're not doing that. There we go. So I've got the extra room. Two, three, four. 1, 2, 3. Well. 1, 2, 3. Close enough. Actually, yeah, why don't I just do it that way? And I should have plenty of wood. Yeah. How is it saying... Oh, no, that's why. It's because it can't be reached. No, there's more than enough resources. And I should visit him. Alright, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else from the news to talk about. Well, from the video game news and such. And actually... Yeah, just do it anyway. I don't know how much I can sell here. And other things. I could sell cows. I don't want to do that. I like the cows. I don't like the idea of dubious booze, to be honest. Okay, that's funny. That's a bug. You hear that? Even though there's no button there, it still plays a sound. So it's just visually hiding the button, but it's not truly disabling it. That's funny. And legitimately, it should not be doing that. That is a bug. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, you can go back to bed now. I mean, if it weren't labeled dubious, then maybe I wouldn't be bothered by it, but it is, so yeah, not messing with that one. Why are you going into my library? Do you have your library card? I don't think they have library cards. Anyway, so the other thing that I could have talked about last week but forgot about, and yeah, gonna come on, there we go. Sorry, just closing it on my phone because I don't need it. Is I'm gonna be doing a presentation next week on Tuesday. Yeah, it's gonna be kind of fun. Gonna be talking about science fiction in front of a student group that's focused on science. Yeah. No, it'll all be good. Actually, I have a fair amount of science, real science in the presentation. But it's kind of just the point of, what my main point will be is that you should... Oh yeah, it is going to have that problem. Is that you should still have an interest in science fiction if you are interested in science fact, because you need the open mind, you need the imagination. I've got 2 things in there, actually more than 2 things. plenty more than two things in some ways, where it's like, no, you do need to stop and consider other alternatives than what you've been taught in textbooks. You know, the hard science, the real science, the science fact that would say that these things can't be possible, that these cannot be true. But it's like, no, they are true. These are what we've been observing. And so what are the consequences of that? And I've also got one that's not in the presentation, but I can talk about. I don't know if it'll come up, but a thing from, man, more than a decade ago now, when, hang on, there, you know, I'm just wondering, I could make it into actual stairs. Be a little fancier with it. When some researchers reported that their observations, their measurements showed they had detected neutrinos traveling faster than the speed of light. Definitely problematic. But just the way the scientific community, because I was looking at press releases and such, editorial stuff, all that at the time, and the way the scientific community treated that was abhorrent. Like, it demonstrated a level of closed-mindedness that should be something that inspires shame for the scientific community, to be honest. I mean, it really was that terrible how these people were treated. For basically sharing what they observed, what their measurements said. I mean, can you imagine that situation where you work hard, you make these observations, you follow normal scientific protocol, you make an astounding discovery, and people are like, no, shut up, you shouldn't be a scientist. And it's like, that's not healthy for the scientific community, but that's exactly what they did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think I will try to have it just going out this way, so this will actually be the edge. I just realized that, hang on. There, to help me make sure I do align it properly. Yeah, I think that much is safe to do. But yeah, it should be a fun talk. One thing, though, that's funny is part of the reason why I'm doing it is, I actually had the idea to do it quite a while ago. It's only now that the faculty advisor is like, yeah, sure, Jim, let's do that. I got a space open. But it's also in part because, you know, I've mentioned before, I've written various stories. Some of them have been science fiction. And this presentation is most inspired by one of them. But one thing that's kind of funny, why is this dog just not eating? That's not what's funny, but I don't know why it's not eating. There is food for it to eat. Alright, it's there. And I'm actually going to pause these now. There. Okay. There. Yeah, it's most inspired by one specific story that I worked on, that I wrote. Geez, that I self-published more than a year ago now. I know, because after I finished that, I started on the next one. It took me more than a year to finish that first draft, and I'm still in editing on it, and that's been months, so, yeah. One thing, though, that's been kind of neat for me is I decided to start reading that book, and just how much I'm enjoying it. I mean, which shouldn't be surprising. I try to write stories that I'm interested in. Well, I have the idea for a story, if I think it's good, and I think I can write it, I'll write the story. And by can write it, I mean, do I have enough of an idea to support a story? Sometimes it's not the case. I've got ideas for stories where it's like, yeah, that's a neat idea, I don't know what I can do with it. it has been fun rereading that story, though, because it's naturally one I'm going to enjoy reading because I wrote it. It's a little bit of a shame no one else reads them, but, you know, that's just how it is. Yeah, and actually, that's a good question. Yeah, there's 40 animal feed. That dog has no reason to be hungry. And is a pet, so it can go anywhere. If it reaches 0% the settler, it's a dog. Will enter starvation mode and eventually die. But, I mean, it's not actually trying to eat anything. Here, let me try something that might work. Where... Blocky. Type of animal. Here. I'm going to assign him to one of them. So hopefully, that will see the idiot, like, follow her and get food. He's not following her. I don't even know where she is. She's over here. Wow. And is she one of the... Yeah, she's literally one of the cooking people. He can get food if he wants it. I don't really know what more to say, because it's not like I want to run through the presentation, but I think, I hope they will find it interesting. Should be fun for me. Because, yeah, I mean, there is some stuff in there. I can believe that one of them, none of them will have heard of. Another, some of them may have heard of, but might not have heard, or I will provide a context to it that they might not know. That'll just, you know, be a matter of finding out. How are you cold? What's the temperature down here? I mean, it's... Come on, it's not that bad. Wait a minute, did I accidentally mark limestone or something? No, I did. Huh. Yeah, stability there is not a problem. Okay. Boom. Once we get that... Here. That is actually very true. Actually build them like this, because once you do that, they have access to all of them. Okay. Very high. There. I could also potentially do the flax stuff. Although, is it... Okay, yes. Linen cloth. And I can build this out quite far. Although... Oh. Okay. It's a little weird. I'm just trying to figure out how far can I actually go with this. Yeah. Oh, here, just the speed, because I need them to get the axis first. And I'll also turn off seeds in here. I don't mind the linen cloth being over there, though. Like, this is legit. Actually, yeah, that's true. Hey. This can just be hot. Yeah, that isn't a problem. Saplings count as seeds? Oh, yeah. Alright. Yeah, I'd rather not have the saplings in here. I'm just, this is a better place for them, I think. Although, actually, yeah, don't do... Well, no, it shouldn't matter. Shelf or not. Yeah. But, yeah, come back to the presentation. Yeah, some of the stuff I'm going to present, like, half of it is basically about how you need to make sure you have an open mind, you have an imagination when you're working with science. The idea you don't need it or that you can get away without it is very wrong. And legitimately, some of the stuff, like the one story I was sharing, and I've got others, where it's like, hey, this is something new. This is a new idea. All right, let's try to make sure that nothing comes of it. That it's just false. It's like that's very dangerous, and should be something that the scientific community is ashamed of. And it's like there's one quote from the tachyonic neutrino thing, which yes, they did eventually find when they repeated the experiment, but corrected certain issues, that they were wrong. Well, here, I mean, say one thing about that was there were two potential sources of error. One was an optical cable not being completely plugged in to a computer. The other was the distance to the between the neutrino source and the receiver was not completely accurate. And the thing is that these were actually corrections in different directions. But if you looked at the media of the time, the science media of the time, what was consistently spoken of was just the cable not being plugged all the way in. That's all. It's like, there was another source of error that would actually, correcting that, could accelerate, could make them go even faster. But that was ignored. Largely ignored, I should say. I should put it that way. Because I did see it in some places, but it was very rare. Which is really disappointing. So I would want here. Oh yeah, and I actually can extend this out one more. Yeah, so this row here should keep things stable as it gets mined around, and then I can put down another beam there. And then it'll be nice because that way I have the repetition. Anyway, but there was one... So much was written about how these researchers were just wrong and their work should be pulled, they should take their names off of it, and I think like there were even calls for the journal that published it that they should retract it. I mean, it was very, very mean. But there was one physicist, I saw his comment, and it's like, this is the comment that is what scientists should be giving in this situation. Sorry, I will share it. It just occurred to me. Have I gotten any more mechanical components? I don't think so. Oh, no, that's right. I can't make them. Not yet, anyway. He said if they had measured if they were saying that it was electrons that were traveling that fast, he'd know they were wrong. Because we know the electron too well, it can't surprise us with something like that. However, they said it was neutrinos. There's still enough unknown, there's still enough mystery there that it's possible. This guy helped write the Standard Model, which a way to describe that is as the Bible for particle physics. So he knows what he's talking about when it comes to particles. And he was like, it's possible because it's neutrinos. It's possible. He's not saying it's true. He's not saying it's false. He's just saying, you know what, maybe. I mean, it's like that's exactly what the response should have been from everyone. That it's like, this is interesting. This doesn't make sense. If it is true, it's a major discovery. And if it's not, then it's just an example of this is why we need to investigate these things very thoroughly. And when we get something that we don't expect, we investigate it more. But that's not what it was. It wasn't cooler heads prevailing. It was, no, these people should not be considered researchers anymore, should not be considered scientists. And, like, none of that is healthy for any community. Scientific community or not. Other communities, like the video game community. I'm just trying to think, what would be an example? That kinda actually is an example of it. And, well, that would be the computer community, not specifically the video game community, but it would still be kind of relevant. Back when AMD released the RX 480, so the first Polaris GPUs, they had marked them as 150 watt cards and had a 6-pin connector on there, because 75 from that, 75 from the PCIe slot. But some people found when testing that it was possible for it to draw a little bit more than 150 total. And there were people just declaring that makes it a bad card, that means it should be stripped of its PCI SIG, PCI SIG notation on there, label on there, that it passed certification because clearly it's violating that. And it's like, there was so many ways in which that reporting was wrong. But they're also declaring there was a bad product, that the hardware was bad, that should be immediately recalled and all that. And that it couldn't be solved by any means, except hardware replacement. What did AMD do? They changed the firmware. You don't pull electricity from all points at the same time. Definitely not in a computer. That's what the VRMs are, is they're actually just capacitors that are charged up and then discharged at a certain in a certain sequence. Such that like some of them are being, well, okay, so my desktop, Threadripper 1950X, right? So it has the 24-pin connection. It has, I think, 2 of the 8-pin connections that are just powering the CPU, right? That's 3 different sources of power. They're not being pulled all from at the same time. And the VRMs are not necessarily not necessarily being powered by all of them. Some of the VRMs can be powered by one, but can be powered by the 24 pins. Some would be powered by one of the 8 pins. Some would be powered by the other 8 pin. And it's just, they're charged up and then they're released. And it's actually, there's certain phases to them, which, yes, phases, this is the thing. Where, like, let's say you have just 2 of them and they just, 2 phases in there. So one discharges while the other charges. When the one finishes discharging, then the next will discharge, and it just goes back and forth. All AMD did was basically change the cycle. Where the GPU's VRMs, instead of going slot and plug, slot, plug, it would go slot, plug, plug, slot, plug, plug, slot, plug, plug. Because the plug was able to take a lot more. Hang on. Okay. Could take more abuse. And in fact, one thing that I had seen people say was that it was designed it was actually designed in a way that it could take a full 150 watts, depending on how the cable from the power supply was engineered. But it's also worth noting, both the PCIe slot and the 6-pin and 8-pin plugs, they're old specs. No one was making them at at the original spec. So even though, yes, it's only on paper capable of 75 watts, in reality, they could handle a lot more power than that, because motherboard manufacturers, GPU manufacturers, and power supply manufacturers all have been over-engineering them, because They could. And why not? And I remember somebody even did an experiment where they had an AM2 or AM2 Plus motherboard. It was the oldest motherboard that they could find that still worked. And they ran an RX 480 on it, on a loop. Like, I don't know if it was firm but something to push the power envelope on it. And just had it running on there continuously, and it never failed. And this was without the firmware being updated. So it was doing slot, plug, slot, plug, slot, plug. Just back and forth like that. And there was never a problem with it. It was just one of those, when you actually tested this, the issue didn't exist in any significant way. And there was, in fact, a software solution. Well, a non-hardware solution, since it was technically firmware, which is in between. But it's like, but you still had people in the journalism community, in the journalism portion of the computer hardware community, that were just declaring, no, this is an abject failure. It's like, it was totally inappropriate. That's also how it was with the light. Not the light, the neutrinos traveling faster than the speed of light. It was like people just making these statements that it's like, no, that's not how this actually works. This isn't how science works. When you have an unusual discovery, you investigate it. You don't just declare it's false. You investigate. You try to find out, okay, how, why. But it's also, I don't even remember anyone talking about what this may allow for. I mean, think about it. Having a particle that was in fact created, it's like the whole experiment was they made it in one place, they detected it in another. It's like, imagine what you could do then for communication purposes. I mean, it's like, there's a lot of potential there if that were true. But that wasn't even considered. I don't recall seeing anyone in the scientific community, any press release, any editorial talking about, if this is true, what might the consequences be? None of that. How disappointing and how depressing is that? And that's something I think that is worth talking about, because that should not be how people approach it. No, we should approach this with far more respect for the researchers, but also, the researchers that came up, that made the discovery, but also respect for science itself. That no, it's something we don't know. It's a mystery. All right, let's solve the mystery. Fundamentally, that's what science should be about. Is trying to uncover and understand mysteries. So finding something that seems to be a mystery should be a cause for celebration. But that's not what they did. Not even close to what they did. Except for that one guy. Who, I swear, that's probably... I remember the quote, not just because of the larger situation it was being made in. Yeah, I'm stopping now. But also because it was just a good quote. It really and truly was a good quote. Let me turn that off too. And that can go on. Just changing the sources in OBS. That's like, if it were electrons, I'd know it was false. Because it's too well understood. That those are too well understood. But neutrinos... there's still room for discovery there. There's still mystery that can be there to continue using that term. It's like, that's a very important and valuable way to look at things. Where it's like, you know what? Maybe it might be possible. But other things, we understand those too well. No. But here, there's mystery still. So let's investigate. Let's look at that mystery. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just... a little bit of that is me just psyching up for the presentation. In several days. Don't forget, this is Friday, the 13th, that I do these recordings. But it's also just, there's such a lesson from that whole situation. And I want to make sure that I can, because I observed that situation. I learned that lesson, even though it was one I already was comfortable with. But still, just, it so reinforced the importance of the lesson that I do want to pass that on. Especially because... that was legitimately 13, 14 years ago. This is a college group that I'm going to. Yes, everyone is older than that. The youngest person there will be like 18 or 19. And I know her. Like, she's actually also one of the officers, so I've been working with her a little bit. Yeah, 18 or 19. She probably at the time that came up wouldn't have been conscious of it. And I doubt many of the others in the room, unless it depends. The average age might be older, might be more early 20s, like 22, 23, 24. And people who may not have gone directly into college from high school. But it's still, because it was, even if they were young enough to be conscious of it, the fact that the end was what it was, that no, they were wrong, but they ended up with the most accurate measurement of the speed of neutrinos ever made. Excuse me. But because of that, I could believe that many of them, even if they could remember it, wouldn't remember any of the nuance to it, wouldn't remember any of the larger stuff. They just remember the conclusion and not what came about approaching it. And that's something that you actually see with a lot of stuff. If you read much history, that actually gets in depth, detailed, and accurate. The accuracy portion of that is very important. That you start to see there's such nuance. There is such more information that isn't told to you. And it's like the American Civil War, to use one example, is way more complex than it's usually taught. Because it's like, yeah, just the conclusion is what matters. The North won. The Union held together after this terrible war. And it's kind of left at that. But there is so much more going on there, and it's worth trying to learn more about it, trying to get some of those details. And it's also some of the respect that was also present at the time. There's an episode of a TV show called The Rifleman. It's a fairly old show at this point, but it is a classic. And this one episode in particular, I can't remember the name of it, though. Man, I wish I could. But it's set in the West. Not exactly the Old West. It was post-World War II. Post-World War II. I'm an idiot. Post the Civil War. And they had... the Rifleman is Lucas McCain, and he has a son, Mark McCain. He's a widower, so that's why it's just him and his son. And they have a ranch. And a Confederacy veteran ends up being there, and they offer him a job because he needs it. And he isn't a bad guy, but he is a Confederate. That comes into play. He also lost an arm in the war. Well, going through the town and also stopping at his ranch for some of it, just to rest and recuperate before they move on, is a group of Union soldiers, including a general, as I recall. I think it was a general. He may have only been a colonel. But it was like that level of officer that were there, like major. They may have been lieutenant, but it's like major, colonel, and generals there. And the Confederate veteran, he gets himself a gun and just like walks up and is ready to kill the general because no, he's still like no, we might have beaten us back. We're not defeated yet. And the general like is almost excited, is almost joyful here because he has such a deep respect for the man that it doesn't bother him that the man is threatening to kill him. He celebrates this fact because he has so much respect for what actually happened. Can you imagine trying to teach that in a class today? That a Union soldier, a Union general having respect for the Confederacy? No, it's so often taught that they were despicable, that we shouldn't have any respect for them. They want to tear down memorials that show respect to them, including one that is meant to show the need for that respect and the mercy and forgiveness so that the country could heal. And one of the last lines in the episode from the general, because he does talk the guy down because of showing him so much respect. One of the people with him is a doctor, and he has him look at the wound, look at where the arm was amputated, and see that it was terribly done. And it's like, we're going to take care of him. We're going to put him in our wagon. He's going to be carried in honor to one of our hospitals to be properly taken care of. And when somebody asks why you're doing this, his response is that he's following the last command of their commander-in-chief. Bind up the nation's wounds. And it's like, there is such significance to that one episode and such respect that should be there, but it's not really taught. That one episode, you could play that in in a history class in high school, and a lot of people wouldn't necessarily understand it. Why would they be showing him such respect? Now, true, within the episode itself, it does explain it. But there would be so many that it's like, would never have seen that. That's why, yeah, learn this stuff and remember the things that you were conscious of, that you are fortunate enough to be conscious of, because there are details you will know that will not survive into textbooks, will not survive into history books, purely because people write about the conclusions, or they write from the point of view of the conclusions and not how you got there. And that's kind of the thing, not for history, for science, well, the history of science as well, that I am hoping to impress upon them, to share with them, and also the value of not only that, but having the imagination, open mind to look forward, to look at the details and stop thinking about the conclusion. Think about how you get there. It's like one of the things I have in there is basically, is a constant really a constant? That's actually a situation in science that's a worthy thing to question, right? I mean, think about how significant that is. We call it a constant, maybe it isn't. Maybe it actually isn't, because if you go with that, then other things get explained. And that's not to say that that's necessarily the true way to take care of this situation. That it's or even the best way, but it's like, why was this not investigated? Like, literally, it took 20 years for somebody to figure out, hey, maybe it's not a constant, maybe it does vary, and started looking at that, and they found a pattern that actually makes sense, that actually does explain it. Well, it makes sense, and it explains the variability. It doesn't explain how it's varying. But it's like, it explores this, that it's an obvious thing. Maybe the constant isn't constant if we keep getting different values, but we call it a constant. So I do have this concern that you're looking at it from that point of view of that conclusion. It's a constant, so the measurements must be wrong. It's like, no, stop looking at it from the conclusion. The measurements are where you have confidence, not the value. The value gets its confidence from the measurements. So you need to look at the measurements and trust in them, not the end value. If it comes out being different, then it's like, okay, the problem is with the value. So maybe it's not a constant. Because the methods, that's where your trust is. And just, I know that seems kind of a distinction without a difference or circular logic, but no, it's confidence in a value, confidence in a measurement comes from how it is measured. So it doesn't matter what you call it. If you call it a constant, but the measurements tell you it varies, you need to trust that it varies. It's cart before the horse kind of thing. Alright, I have been blathering on enough, and I need to not do that, because I need to be able to blather on Tuesday. Oh, man. I almost feel sorry for them, because I know how to talk, clearly. But I am going to also be assuming a certain level of ignorance with them that is perhaps not appropriate. If I apologize for that, I will do so at the end. But it is also because some of this stuff, I have every reason to believe that they won't know. I legitimately do have every reason to believe that they won't know, and that I am going to be enlightening people, educating people that are ignorant, not necessarily by their own choice, just they're not taught these things. They don't see these things, and that's part of the fun to it, though. I get to teach them something that's really neat. That's fun. I'm gonna be enjoying it. All right. That's enough. Oh, and by the way, just generally, yeah, The Rifleman is a good show. If there's a channel called MeTV, Memorable Entertainment Television, they play that 4 to 5 o'clock, I think it is. Well, Eastern time. So yeah, if you can't, it's a broadcast channel, so if you got an antenna, you may be able to pick it up. Well, and if you're in America, give it a shot. And it is also, I think Amazon Prime has it streaming. But yeah, go ahead and give it a look. Some of the episodes are not always that good, but that one episode, that Civil War episode, man, it truly is one of the best episodes. It really is. All right, see you next time.